7.
What if a limousine was always at your disposal? A jet could whisk you to vacation, anywhere. And when you say, tennis anyone, you really mean anyone. And forget about a bill, someone else is taking care of it, the American taxpayer. In the war of the perks in Washington, the White House is now under fire, and it's discovering that appearances can be everything.
This is ABC News Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
Let me tell you something about perks. The less you need them, the more they get offered. Poor people don't get perks. People without some sort of influence don't get perks. People like me, for example, neither poor nor without influence get offered perks all the time. Sometimes they are little perks, like this luggage tag which arrived in the mail today. It's a nice leather tag with a brass plate that has my name engraved on it. It came with a handwritten note from my friend Dick, who is the Southeast Region account manager for an airline. Dick wanted to express his sincere appreciation for my loyalty to his airline on my many flights to Japan. Actually, I haven't made many flights to Japan, and I've only flown Dick's airline once. Also, I don't think I would know Dick if I tripped over him. But should I send his luggage tag back in righteous indignation? It's got my name engraved on it. No one else can use it. And I don't believe that Dick or anyone he works for thinks I can be had for a luggage tag. And anyway, making a scene over a luggage tag seems kind of excessive. A more pertinent question might be, what'll I do the next time an airline offers to upgrade my coach ticket to first class? It's a very slippery business, this perk thing, and as Nightline correspondent Jeff Greenfield reports, it's on everybody's mind in Washington these days.
Hey, isn't that Budget Chief Richard Darman? Doesn't he have a 24-hour-a-day driver? Not this day.
I heard this morning as I drove myself to work.
And look, there's Secretary of State Jim Baker. Doesn't he use military aircraft for all of his travel? Not anymore.
He called his scheduling staff and said, in the future, on private travel, book me on commercial flights.
And there's House Minority Whip Newt Gingrich, the man who led the Republican charge to make check bouncing in the House the Watergate of the 1990s. He's just given up his car and driver.
And my conclusion is that if I have to take a cab in order for us to clean up the Congress, I am more than happy to take a cab.
And here's President Bush leaving for Arkansas last month. But where's the mighty Air Force One, the $26,000 an hour flying White House? Not this trip, thank you. In the nation's capital these days, the #1 hit is Give Me the Simple Life. Why? Call it irony, Washington style. Today, when the House Ethics Committee released its report on members who had overdrawn their accounts at the House Bank, it was supposed to be a bonanza for Republicans, the perfect issue with which to bash the Democratic-controlled House. No wonder House Speaker Tom Foley's remarks today had a strong defensive tone.
So I think this brings to a close this whole matter of the House Bank. The names again of those who are released today again have not violated any law, have not violated any rule of the House, are being disclosed in the interest of full disclosure as ordered by the House.
But Democrats, sensing a threat to their 38-year hold on the House, have for weeks been pointing a finger straight up Pennsylvania Avenue at the privileges enjoyed by the president and his entourage.
When you look at the kinds of perks in the White House versus the House of Representatives, it's like comparing a well-fed hog to a little piglet.
What about the servants, the tennis courts, the fleet of planes, the cars and drivers, the Camp David retreat? What about the staff members who think that they're entitled to presidential perks even when they're on their own time?
As the Vice President used his travel privilege now.
As with so much in Washington, it's not really a fight about perks, it's a fight for survival. A fight for high political ground in the face of a flood tide of national discontent that threatens to make incumbents an endangered species. This is the way a lot of citizens think the people in Washington live, high on the hog in Fat City. It's almost a journalistic cliche to expose the plush offices and juicy steaks and stretch limos, all courtesy of the taxpayer. Well, yes, there are embassy parties and black tie galas and fact-finding trips that look a lot like free vacations. There are a lot more, though, of 7-day work weeks and cramped studio apartments and greasy burgers eaten on the run. But in a time when people believe that the folks running the government are running it into the ground, the normal perks of office begin to look a lot more like cushy free rides on the taxpayer's back.
The reason these perks are touching such a raw nerve is that people are hurting economically. And they want their elected officials to be hurting just as much.
Stuart Eisenstadt was a top aide to President Jimmy Carter, who campaigned against the imperial presidency. He even carried his own garment bags. It was designed as a contrast to the presidency of Richard Nixon, who once outfitted his White House guards like a European kingdom. Carter even sold off the presidential yacht Sequoia. Eisenstadt now believes that was a mistake.
In selling the Sequoia, which was one of the ultimate presidential perks, the president lost the opportunity to be able to bring members of Congress and their wives for evening strolls down the Potomac, which can be very useful in terms of selling your legislation.
And as John Kennedy and Ronald Reagan showed, voters don't mind a touch of glitz and glamour, a touch of royalty, if they're more or less happy with the way things are going. Even Ralph Nader, one of the most uncompromising opponents of public privilege, agrees.
Officials who have perks but are doing a good job are more often forgiven by the people who say, well, at least they've done a good job and they've earned it, they deserve it. But when they've done a terrible job, running up debts, deficits, looking the other way at corruption, scandals, and bailouts, then the perks are like rubbing a salt in the wound.
But what about the fundamental issue? Are perks a boon to the overworked or a boondoggle?
The White House staff is working 80 hours a week. They're overworked and underpaid. And perquisites like door-to-door limousine service, like Camp David, like a gym, like having meals in barbershops on site, are really essential in order to be able to do your job.
Extensive perks and privileges make government officials forget where they're coming from. They make them remote from the people back home. It makes them think that they're entitled to something special.
Perks and privileges, of course, are hardly confined to public officials. They are found in every field, journalism very much included. But because politicians are in the direct line of voters' fire, more and more of them these days are singing the blues in Washington. Once I had a limo, phone and all. Thought it helped in my work. Once I had a limo, now it's gone. Brother, can you spare a perk? I'm Jeff Greenfield for Nightline.
When we come back, we'll be joined by a former White House aide who says the people who govern need perks, and by a longtime crusader against greed and corruption in Washington.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Charles Schwab.
Everyone has a dream, a vision deep inside.
With all the mutual funds out there, I needed an easy way to help me compare them.
We make it easier to follow your own lead.
With Schwab's free mutual funds performance guide, I can compare track records on over 500 funds.
Always there to give you just the help you need.
Help yourself at Schwab today.
There was a time when sports cars were built purely for sport. On April 20th, that time will return. Announcing the return of the pure sports car, the new Mazda RX-7.
Ace Best Buys are terrific values every month, like these.
Ace offers a full line of lawn care products, including premium turf fertilizer for $3.99 and weed and feed for just $4.99.
Ace Best Buys. Another reason Ace is the place for you.
After a strong showing last weekend, the new Reindeer draft team is ready to go. They're off. A tremendous start. They're heading into the pretzel turn. They've got them. Here come the chips. And the dip. Incredible. They're setting up for the all-important Reindeer draft light turn. They've got the new Reindeer draft lights. They're ice loggers. They're ice loggers.
All right. Here's a Reindeer draft.
Now at Napa, save on popular weights of quality Napa motor oil, just 69 cents after rebate. Napa's Lawn and Garden Battery is just $19.95 and get a free Napa hat with a $25 purchase. Watch for your Napa coupon book or pick one up at Napa.
For the first time, here are the most vivid and dramatic accounts ever from a hostage survivor when I talk with Terry Waite. Watch 2020, Friday.
Len Nofziger worked in both the Nixon and Reagan White Houses and is currently a political consultant. He gives the Democrats points for smart politics for harping on the White House perks, but he says those privileges are nothing compared to the abuses in Congress. Mr. Nofziger joins us in our Washington studios. Charles Peters, the editor of Washington Monthly, says perks in the executive branch are due for the same kind of examination going on now. Mr. Peters joins us from his Washington home. Mr. Peters, has it gotten to a point where once again we are focusing on almost irrelevant trivialities here compared to the real issues, the enormous budget deficit, however much is being spent on the military, for example? Do we really care? Does it really make any difference? Should we really care is what I'm asking.
Yes, we should care, because what item by item may seem and it may even be trivial are actually symbols of something very important. And what those seemingly trivial perks are symbols of is symbols of the insulation that happened to the ruling class in Washington, of how they got out of touch with the real problems, with the people of the country, and with their real concerns, because they were so insulated from those real problems.
Let me press you on that issue a little bit. In order for legislators, or for that matter, in order for members of the executive branch to sympathize adequately with the poor, is it necessary for them to be poor?
No, but I think you have to have occasional experiences that make you realize how it feels. Of course, you don't have to live every day in poverty, but to have the occasional hassle that the average citizen has to go through, standing in line to get a license. If you just had to go through that, instead of having it done for you, instead of being rushed to the head of the line or having it handled by some assistant. At the White House, it got to be to a ridiculous extent. Everything was taken care of for you, everything.
Go ahead, Mr. Nofziger.
I don't know what White House he was in, but I can assure you that wasn't the case of the White Houses I was in. Most of us, when we leave the White House, become average citizens, just like you all are average citizens, and we go stand in line and we do our own grocery shopping and we get our own licenses and so forth. Most of the perks that people are complaining about, and I think that goes for what's up on the Hill, too, really are helpful in doing a job. And the difference between the White House perks and what's been going on the Hill is that the people up there have been abusing the system. And there's been no accusation that the people in the White House are abusing the so-called perks, which you have a tennis court, you have a horseshoe pitching thing, you have a bowling alley, you have a swimming pool, all of them put in there by various presidents who lived there for 4 years and who are kind of prisoners in the White House. And to say that these people should not be able to have some of the amenities is just ridiculous.
To say that John Sununu didn't abuse those perks, that's ridiculous.
I did not say that, and you know that. John Sununu did abuse them, and the one thing that you always have to be careful about, whether you're in the White House, whether you're up on the Hill, or whether you publish a magazine, is do you abuse your perks?
Well, let's start getting realistic for a moment, Mr. Peters. When the Secretary of State, for example, starts flying coach on a regular commercial flight, that's hot dogging, isn't it?
No, as I tried to point out at the beginning, you can take any one of these things and make it seem trivial. Why does it make a difference that you get your go down to the White House barbershop to get your hair cut,
and pay the full price,
that you can play tennis on the White House court, that you can swim in the White House pool, that you can have your health care taken care of by the White House? All I'm trying to say is all of those things add up to a pattern of privilege that the elite in Washington, both in the Congress and the White House, have enjoyed that is not available to the average citizen, and that those privileges in toto have tended to separate them from the problems and concerns of the average citizen.
Tell me what you do, Mr. Peters. I mean, explain to me how you would make it right.
Oh, I believe in getting rid of as many of these things as you can. I think, for instance, that ridiculous thing of the White House, of all those drivers to take people to lunch. I've often wondered, what do those drivers do the rest of the day? Because any of us have had lunch with anybody at the White House knows the driver comes and he sits out there, waits for whoever and you know the person you're having lunch is not exactly at the super top of the White House, so you know there must be 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 guys all out with these drivers. What do they do the rest of the day? It's a terrible kind of self-indulgence for these, and a kind of, each one of these little contempts for the taxpayer that has this driver wasted. And as I say, what happens to the rest of this day? I imagine a lot of that time is wasted because just so you can have that driver take you to lunch.
How much of a difference does it really make, Mr. Nofziger, if somebody walks to lunch or grabs a cab to lunch or has a government driver?
Almost none, and for the most part, many of those people there will walk to lunch because restaurants are pretty close to the White House, or will take a cab. Sure, people take the White House cars.
That's what's so absurd, though, Lynn, is that so many of, there you are, you're sitting over there at a restaurant that's 2 or 3 blocks from the White House, and this guy rides up in this car, and you think, my God, what's happening? This is ridiculous. This is outrageous.
Well, sir, can we just take a quick break? And when we come back, I'd like to sort of separate out the practical from the ethical and see if we can sort of focus on those two branches. We'll continue our discussion in a moment.
Red marks. These old glasses do nothing but pinch. They're a pain.
You don't have to put up with glasses that don't fit anymore.
Now LensCrafters brings you better fit for greater comfort. LensCrafters glasses fit your snug points with features like new self-adjusting snug fit pads that flex to gently and securely hug your nose.
No more pinching. I never knew glasses could be this comfortable.
LensCrafters. Better fit for greater comfort. In about an hour.
A high-output 4-liter engine, anti-lock brakes, and shift-on-the-fly full-time 4-wheel drive. Make Jeep Cherokee the ultimate vehicle for the hustle and bustle of everyday life.
Now save $1,500 on new Jeep Cherokees.
At Town & Country Mitsubishi, we're the new kids on the block. That means we have to work harder and smarter to earn your business. For example, we just purchased special vehicles from the factory. These Gallants are fully loaded. They've got power windows, power door locks, air conditioning, AM/FM stereo cassette. They're all one price. The same thing with the Mitsubishi Mirage. It's a great bike. So all you have to do is come pick the color you want. It's that simple. At Town & Country Mitsubishi, that's just the way we do business.
Driving alone to downtown sure is convenient. There's the convenience of having lots of neighbors around you, of making frequent visits to the gas station, the convenience of being able to go where you want, when you want, of breathing clean air, the convenience of downtown parking. If driving alone's this convenient, why is it that every weekday tens of thousands of Portland area residents choose to leave their car home and take TriNet?
The Ross Spring Clearance is on now. Hurry, prices have been reduced on hundreds of items throughout the store. The only thing more beautiful than the clothes are the savings.
Hot daytime talk.
You felt compelled to trade sex to keep your job?
At night. Night Talk with Jane Whitney. Weeknights at midnight on KATU Channel 2.
It is a spring fashion explosion. We're going to find out what's hot, doesn't cost a lot on the next Oprah.
Friday at 4 on Channel 2.
When Mary Helroyd went to her prom, she looked like this. Not too much later, she looked like this. How did it happen? Well, it wasn't natural. Watch 2020 Friday.
And we're back with Lynn Nofziger and Charles Peters. Mr. Peters, let me play devil's advocate for a moment. You can sort of run the gamut from the president of Zaire, who allegedly has put aside some $5 billion over the years that he's been in power, to the most extreme Marxist state or former communist state, be it the old Soviet Union or China. People, leaders, always have perks. They may pretend that it is otherwise, but they always do. It's part of the leadership process. They need something to sort of grease the wheels of their day. And I'm not even talking about they're putting money aside, just to be able to get from point A to point B more quickly without wasting time. I mean, are we being impractical in this discussion?
It's just that we're getting from point A to point B more quickly becomes a habit that encourages luxury and insulation from the people, when it really is to get from point A to point B to make the government more efficient, to make things work better, to serve the people better, then of course it's defensible. But all too often, these things add up to the person becoming part of this elite class in Washington that is separated from the people, and that is the real problem. And I'm telling you, I know the people are upset about this as they're finding out about these things. There is something shocking about these things in toto. While any one of them, I fully concede, it could be defensible, and you could argue its merits. Taken all together, they constitute a privileged class that the leaders of our government have become part of.
I absolutely agree with you when you say that the American people are upset about this. My own mail reflects it. My phone calls reflect it. But, Lynn Nofziger, let me ask you, from a practical point of view, isn't what's going on here just a little bit of mudslinging back and forth by the Democrats and the Republicans trying to gain tactical advantage? And as soon as they can now that they see that they're both going to get hurt, they're going to try and quiet this thing down again and let things go back to status quo ante.
Ted, I'll tell you, it'll be back to the status quo. People will have cars. Those are not limousines at the White House, by the way. Those are sedans.
Oh, now, Lynn,
now hold on a minute.
You're kidding about that.
Hold on a minute. They're not limousines. I've ridden in them. But the fact is that the Democrats up on the Hill, the leadership up there, was hurting very much because of their sleazy bank and their sleazy non-payment of restaurant bills and their bad problems up there with the post office, and they had to do something. So what they did is they turned around and said, aha, they have perks at the White House. Look, they've got perks on the Hill, too. Every congressman up there has a kid who will drive him somewhere. He may not have a limo, but he has somebody who will drive him. He has a gym up there. I know now they've upped the prices. He has haircuts that are cheaper than you can get at the White House. So they've got a lot of perks up there, and what they're trying to do is shift the focus.
And how can this be turned to some usefulness? I mean, let us at least concede that the point that Charles Peters has been making throughout this broadcast, this sort of growing separation between the governed and the governors, and this sense of feeling that when times are painful for the people, that those who are governing them should at least experience a little bit of that pain.
I think those perks should be monitored. What is a perk? Is a perk sending Dick Darman back and forth to home in a White House car? I don't think so. Dick Darman works 12 to 16 hours a day. I'd probably fire him as a matter of principle. But if he's going to work there, then he's tired when he leaves there. He's probably a danger on the road after 16 hours there, and he probably ought to have a driver. Going to work, he's probably working on papers on his way to the office. That's not a perk. Now, it is a perk if he takes it to a social gathering. He should not do that. And so I think what you can do is control those perks, but not take away the things that make a person more effective.
What I think is forgotten is that there are hundreds of thousands of people in this country, millions of people who work very hard every day. They don't have these luxurious cars to take them back and forth. And believe you me, Lynn said they weren't limousines. Well, I tell you what these guys at the White House do. They order up the highest quality of the line of Ford. So the car is labeled a Ford instead of a Lincoln or a Mercedes or something like that. But it is the top of the line. It is a very, very comfortable car.
Certainly it's a comfortable car, but it's not a limousine. Don't you know what a limousine is, Charlie?
Of course, but you know what you were trying. You were trying to get away with acting like
limousine
nothing,
limousine is the kind of thing that Greenfield was driving in.
Well, it's the kind of a thing that you. Well, no, as a matter of fact, you only sent a car out to bring me here.
Yeah.
It was a nice perk, but it wasn't a limousine.
Right.
All right. So ultimately, where do we come down on this thing, Mr. Peters?
Well, ultimately, I think the danger is. I go back to a cozy tone you were using with Lynn a while ago, where you said, well, isn't this just nothing altogether? We guys in Washington, we understand these hardworking officials. They need that just like we do. You know, us big shots in Washington really need all those things, and we deserve them. Well, there is that sense of privilege, of entitlement and privilege among the elite in Washington, and I think the people are fed up with it.
On that proper note of reprimand, thank you, Mr. Peters, for joining us. Mr. Nofziger, we'll be back in just a moment.
With a luxury car like the new J30 from Infiniti, you may be expected to drive with a certain decorum in public. What you do behind closed doors, however, is your own business. The new Infiniti J30 makes you want to take up driving again, doesn't it?
Can you tell me where I can get cash with this?
Go down this way and you move right.
Cash?
You know, the thing is, with that card, I don't know where. That's the problem.
Looking for cash without MasterCard isn't exactly easy.
And there's a corset store there. Now you go through that corset store, they don't buy.
But with MasterCard, you can get cash just about anywhere at nearly 200,000 bank branches and 60,000 ATMs. So count on MasterCard and master the moment.
Third row.
How bad are your allergies?
Terrible.
Terrible allergy attack?
I feel like I just want to unscrew my head, take it off.
Suppose I took your Benadryl away.
I'd be home in bed.
Would you try this new allergy medicine?
Does it work the same?
Dristan Allergy has a decongestant, and this Benadryl doesn't. So it relieves nasal congestion and pressure Benadryl can't. Let's try it.
Okay. I feel fantastic.
Why?
I can breathe through my nose. I don't need a tissue anymore.
New Dristan Allergy. Dristan, the face of relief today.
Right now, IBM is going beyond conventional computing by pioneering a way to touch millions of lives.
They love the hands-on stuff.
Information becomes something with an imagination.
IBM Multimedia.
You can touch so many emotions with pictures and colors and sounds.
It's really wonderfully exciting.
What did the Gulf War teach America about medical preparedness? Plus, star of the day of John...